Hello everyone, Aaron Rupp here, and I wanted to talk about a product today, a new product. We already had a 30-gallon mixer, but we've now added a motor back to it. We actually went away from the motor to bring it to a cheaper state, and we had a lot of requests to bring the motor back in the current form of this one. So, due to that feedback, we did it. So we wanted to show basically start to finish in creating sugar water at this level. And I'm going to go through that process. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to add water. And so I'm going to go about 1/3 up this jug and fill that just with water. That'll be our first step. And you want to make sure when you're adding your water that you add enough to where when you put your sugar in, your sugar won't just be a brick. If you were to put your sugar in first and then you add water on top of it, that sugar is hard to get that to mix. It's basically going to be like a brick in there. So you want to make sure that you have water in before you start adding your sugar. So there. And my next step is I'm going to add preservative. Now we use 2 ounces of preservative for every 5-gallon jug. So I'm going to end up using 12 ounces of this. So in a normal scenario, I would be able to just open this package. I'm going to come here a little closer. And I can just squeeze 1 ounce in that top bladder. And I go a little above it, let it go, and then it evens out at 1 ounce. And then I can dump that in. And so I could do that 12 times, or I can just come over to here and I can open this and I can drop down and put in all my ounces at one time. Let's see here. Put in 2, I'm going to drop 10. So I just put in 2 ounces, so that's 12, so now I'm going to drop 10 more. So I'm currently sitting on 30, so I'm going to come down to this 20. And kind of keep an eye on where that is. Okay, so now I currently have 20 ounces of preservative in there. It's hard to tell what's level here. I'll go a little more. And you want to make sure, so you have on your preservative and your citric acid, they come together in a pack. So there's 2 ounces of preservative that goes into each 5-gallon jug, and there's 1 ounce that goes into every one with your citric acid. And you want to make sure you don't put these in together. We have specific instructions on here on how to do it first with your preservative and last with your citric acid. And the citric acid has nothing to do with the flavor. A lot of people think it adds a little extra kick, a little extra sourness to your flavor. It does not. The citric acid actually activates your preservative. So that's the reason for that. But if you put them together, and I have some other videos where I put them in together and it shows them bonding together, that's what will happen. It'll bond at the top of your water and then it won't preserve a thing. So you have to make sure you separate them. And so I'm not going to put in that citric acid yet. So I put in my water, I put in my preservative. Now I'm going to prep and put in my sugar. And I actually have 50-pound bags here. Normally, the more common bag is 25 pounds, so you can do that. We do things more in bulk here now, so we went with 50-pound bags. So we're going to go that route. Okay, so I have now added 3 of these 50-pound bags. So for 30 gallons, I have put in 150 pounds of sugar. And I'll let that make its way in. And if you remember, our water level was right here. We filled our water level, and then we put in our sugar. And our water, you can see that line bounce. Our water's still floating above that sugar, but that sugar's made its way through the water. So it's already kind of begun a mixing process. And a lot of people will ask, do you use hot water? Hot water will make it mix a little more quickly, but you don't necessarily have to use it, especially if you have something that's going to agitate it, like this mixer. There's actually a couple of arrows. What you will have on yours, and we actually, when we went to shoot this video, we forgot that I hadn't added the decals on it. So we actually have our printer creating those right now. And so I'll come back to the video and show you where that level is. But for right now, I'm going to go to the top of these arrows. And this will be right about 30. I believe this jug holds 35 gallons, but you want to kick back a little bit so it has room for that water to agitate. And so that's why we call it our 30-gallon mixer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to then top it off with water to that level. Okay, so I'm going to stop at that level. And when I was filming before, I mentioned that I went down to 20. I want to clarify what I did there. So I put in 2 ounces from this bladder, and I needed to put in a total of 12, right? So I put in 2 of these, and then I went over here, and it was sitting on the 30, and then I dropped from 30 to 20. And that is my 10 additional ounces. So I didn't want you to think that I put in 20 ounces. So I just put in 10 from the top. So I'm counting backwards from 30. And then, so now I'm going to put in my citric acid, but instead of 12, I'm putting in 6. So I need to do 6 total ounces. So again, I could actually, rather than fill this one each time like we do with a 5-gallon jug, I can just come here. I'm sitting on the 16-ounce mark. And I'm just going to come down to 10 and fill it that way. And so that's it. And so now, and this is another added feature that we have. So when you're pouring it, we want to be able to, we don't want this jug to vapor lock to where all the air has been sucked out and then it just trickles out of your spigot when you're pouring in a 5-gallon jug. You need this to be able to breathe. So this attachment here will let air come in, but it won't let any product out. So that's a new feature that we've added. So put that on there. Make sure that's snug. And then Justin, why don't you come over here and we'll look at this switch. So a couple things are happening here. So put a safety switch on this. You want to make sure that people stand clear of this when it's working. And we also put a safety switch on it so that it won't start spinning on accident. And so you flip this up, and then you now have access to your switch. And this back position is off on your spigot. And so we're going to kick that off. So it's just going to slowly tumble. And if you look at this, you can either keep this hinge closed, and right now I can just move that out of the way, so you don't need to do that. But what that's meant for is to lock it in position when you're filling a 5-gallon jug. So you'll see that work here in a minute, and that's its purpose there. So we've actually mixed this now for 5 minutes. It looks like it's pretty thorough. We recommend anywhere from about 2 to 5 minutes and your mixing should be done. And you're able to do all of that. Whereas if you were to do this all in separate 5-gallon jugs, it's really not that bad of a process, but you got to do everything that we did here. You got to do that 6 times, and you have to individually go and mix each one. And you have 2 or 3 minutes on each one of those as well. So this makes it very quick. So what we'll do is turn this off when it starts going forward. Actually, I'm going to go a little above that, and that's going to come back and it's going to set right there And now it's tilted. If you look over at the spigot, it's tilted now for a 5-gallon jug. So we can go ahead and fill our 5-gallon jug. And the reason we do things in 5-gallon jugs is primarily whenever we're at a permanent location, we're going to use a 5-gallon jug with a spigot. So we just set this on a counter. It has a spigot coming out of it. We can fill our 32-ounce bottles, or we can take this and put it on top of a flavor station and fill our jugs from the top of the flavor station as well. So we always function with our 5-gallon jugs. Now you've seen video where some people have gone to even lighter forms, like Lyle uses 2.5-gallon jugs. He has a lot of girls that will work for him. It's a lot easier for them to maneuver that sugar water. So it's a great idea, and you could do the same thing here with a 2.5-gallon jug as well. So now I have that, and I'm going to open this up and fill my 5-gallon jug. And you can hear this sucking. So this is venting very nicely. So this won't vapor lock. It's going to fill that 5-gallon jug really quick. And voila, we're done with our 5-gallon jug. I go a little bit more. I fill mine up to right there. And pull that out. And now I have a sugar water blank if I wanted to. A lot of people use pre-made flavors for their flavor stations. That's what I do. So I would actually have I would have 20 ounces of tiger's blood or blue raspberry or whatever flavor that I'm using, and I would go ahead and flavor this whole jug. And I actually put the flavor in beforehand, so it's sitting at the bottom, and as I fill my jug with my sugar water, it's already mixing. And so by the time it's full here, I already have a flavor that's ready to go. So I can go and take this and top off a flavor station, or if you're even filling your bottles that way, you can do that as well. So that's that. The nice thing with that guy is you can put all that in, kick it off, and do other things, prep other things, and come back and your sugar water's done. So it's a very, very nice product. On another side note, I mentioned that you'd have a decal, and these will actually come pre-done. There's actually a better technique at making this accurate. But you'll have a decal that comes on the side of this, showing you exactly where it is that you will want to stop. I wonder if I could see inside. I'd say that 25 was just above that, so we're right about there. Anyway, this obviously isn't accurate, but I wanted to show you what it will actually come with. Oh, and then I buggered it up. But you get the idea. You'll have a nice decal that will show you exactly what water level. So if you only wanted to do 15 gallons of sugar water at a time, you can go to that level. And if you have any questions, by all means, we're always willing to answer them. You can go on our website, chat with us live. You can submit inquiries via email or even talk to us in all of our social channels. So we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.